Hello everybody. I have an honor to introduce to you on this line Nina Brown, who makes her home in Santa Fe, New Mexico. But today, guess where she is joining us from? Mount Shasta. Beautiful Mount Shasta in Northern California, where she has just completed an equinox ceremony of her own, and has just told me before we went live that she is buzzing with energy. So welcome, Nina. Rather than me paraphrasing what you said, why don't you tell them what's going on in your neck of the woods?
Oh, Bob, first of all, I just want to thank you personally for the honor of being on this line and in this transmission and in the energy that you are making available to all who will be listening. I am with friends, old new friends in Mount Shasta. We indeed did do ceremony this morning during the time, in California time, of the fall equinox, and did so in quiet circle, and then later in a medicine wheel outside. So all of the elementals, all the divas, all the golden dolphins, all the beings of light under the grace of Divine Creator are absolutely physically and etherically present. And because you and I, and again all who are listening, are in a quantum field, we are all in this field together, no matter where your feet are planted on the planet. So each one of you listening is capable and very invited to breathe in and feel the energy of the majesty of this mountain, and to pull all of that energy through your breath into your being. It is a great gift that's being given to us energetically today.
Indeed, and just for the benefit of our other stewards of the earth, Nina, I will explain what I've just told you that had preceded the live interview that we're now conducting. Elizabeth is working the camera, and she is also a part of that ceremony behind the camera. So Nina and I were saying that as we connected physically via the phone, we both felt our chest heaving and the presence of the masters, guides, and teachers who are with us today. And that's what Nina has just also shared with you. So with that, Nina, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself first, for the benefit of those stewards who may be hearing you for the first time.
About myself, well, that's probably why I didn't hear, because I'm so used to talking about the beings of light. Well, I, like you and like all who are listening, am from the stars, from the future, come to planet Earth with a particular mission, and that mission is the bringing in, the heralding of a higher frequency of love on the planet, and to expand our awareness of our human divinity so that individually and collectively we can create and anchor the new earth, the golden age of divine love. And it is through the work that you're doing, Bob, and each of the individuals who are listening that is making this possible, because we certainly can't do it as individuals alone and in a lower frequency. So that is my reason for being on the planet, and I suspect, and there's an inner knowing, that is also the reason that all the listeners have incarnated at this time.
There is always a reason, even if we may not be aware of that. And in this case, you're absolutely correct. The group energies have exponentially more influence and power on the shifts that are taking place than do the individual healings and individual efforts, no matter how powerful a particular spirit may be. So indeed, and as Nina and I said to each other, we're both honored to be in the presence of all the stewards of the earth around the world at this moment, who are joining with us with their own hearts, with their own energies in sacred space.
So, Bob, if I love to. I think it's important for everyone listening to realize that all that will come out of my speaking, and I suspect yours as well, is a composite of that collective that you just mentioned. So it is the energy of all who are participating in this quantum field here in the now that is going to make whatever it is that transpired happen. So indeed it is a collective thank you.
And we don't know what's going to transpire, do we, Nina? We never know in advance what the Spirit has in store for us. So in our small human body type way, I had meditated as I had been told I should beforehand to come up with some suggested topics that the spirits may guide us on today. And so the first one that I would like to say, first thing I would like to say is, Nina, we haven't talked about the fact that I know you as an ambassador of the Golden Dolphins of Sirius B. Isn't that correct? And so, maybe I should point out to the stewards of the earth who are with us today that what that means that at times Nina may break out in the star language that you and I may not be able to understand in a human left brain sense. But be assured that you will be receiving the benefits of the vibrations that come through her voice. And as she put it to me a few days ago when she explained how this works, the message goes straight to your heart, bypassing your brains. So just relax and receive the messages as they come. Did I state this correctly, Nina?
Absolutely, and the frequencies are just one manner of code transmission. We have light transmission of codes, we have sense, we have geometry. There are so many ways that the Creator is speaking to us in light language. So what will come through in cosmic tones and sounds, and what is being transmitted energetically through the frequency of your being and my being and the beingness of everyone listening, is a transmission of energy, and it's being reduced to information codes. So it doesn't matter whether anybody understands me intellectually in 3D. In their sacred heart, I'm speaking the language of the star nations from which all the listeners come. And it is code transmission of a very high frequency.
And I'm not sure if you are aware of that, whether or not I had shared this with you, but one of the reasons that I feel I had been guided to connect with you a while back was the fact that my home star is also Sirius B. And, and at the heart of the property is the sacred place called Anahata Waka Ahu. That, or Aha, as I call it for short, that is actually at the heart of the solar lion, the Sphinx. It is also at the heart of the dolphin energies that are on this property. And it's also at the heart, I found out not that long ago, of the dove. And in fact, a few days ago, a real live dove showed up at the northernmost point of this triangle of light, which we're going to go to later on this afternoon, to indicate that that's where the dove energies are concentrated. So with that, let's now talk about these signs that you alluded to, that we receive from the spirit realm in all sorts of different ways, without necessarily even being aware of them sometimes, until consciously, until maybe at some point later, if at all. So they come to us through intuitions. How do we trust our intuitions? How do we know that they are divine signs? Do you want to comment about that, or ask the Golden Dolphins to enlighten us about that?
It's very interesting, Bob, and the subject we were discussing this morning. The Golden Doubts and avatars of Sirius B are an aspect of each one of us, and their goal, their desire is that we embody that individual aspect, which is the highest vibration of our higher self. So when you suggest that I might ask the Golden Dolphins, I am.
Ask yourself, in other words, right?
Thank you. Absolutely, positively. And so when you embody that aspect of you, there is a divine wisdom that is in alignment with the divine creator. That is the innate wisdom that you are referring to. So when you see a sign from nature, when you hear a voice or whatever it is that is transmitting information, the discernment is to align with that inner wisdom that you already are. And doing that within the timeless now is, for me, the most accurate way, because you have no connection to the past, the future, to other identities. You are pure and crystalline and in alignment with your truth. So it is a new paradigm, a new way of living, and certainly how I want to live my life going into the golden age of divine love.
But oftentimes there are obstacles that we find in order to be able to do that. Let's talk about some of those. I can think of, for example, as left brain being as one of them. What do you think?
I think the most powerful obstacle in being able to do that is from where you get your identity. If I identify myself with my past, with my wounded nature, then that is going to be the strongest wound or obstacle that is going to keep me from having the crystalline clarity about which I just spoke. But if I can get out of the past, if I can get out of the future, if I can move into this precious space of 0 point, and we can all do it. We can do it through meditation. We can do it through alpha, beta. We can do it through lucid dream state, and then just ask the questions. What does this look like? What does it feel like? And it becomes a new reality. So that's how I trust. That's how I do discernment, but not with the anchor of any past experience, which made me feel fearful or not worthy. That's the biggest obstacle of all that is going to keep me from trusting the inner wisdom.
Well, you just said an important word that triggered a thought, and that is fearful. I think that may be the second obstacle that keeps us from being able to connect to the divine, or more accurately, to assimilate, to become the divine, or to feel it. And that is sometimes, perhaps in our society, people are conditioned that when you feel fear coming on, fear of the dark, fear of the unknown, fear of you name it, we tend to turn away and want to hide. But that's just the way that we have been conditioned to do. And yet what I have learned in the last X number of years, and especially more intensely this year through several fascinating examples, that if instead we open our eyes even wider than before, so as to, in this darkness, in this shadow, find the speck of light that exists, then we can focus on that speck of light, and over time do things that will help us dissolve the darkness, that will help us have it absorbed into light, and therefore have the fear be absorbed into love. Does that make any sense to you, Nina?
It absolutely makes sense, but I'm going to ask a question that might even make it a little easier. And my favorite question that I hope I'm becoming famous for, which is, who are you? Who are you when you see that dark? Who are you when you see that that stumbling block. And if you think you are the identity of Bob, Jane, grandmother, beautician, whatever the identity is that you think is you, then of course it's going to be difficult. It's absolutely going to be difficult because that is a smaller expression of the enormity of who you are. But if you say, who am I? And you answer, I am a divine being, I am an aspect of all that is, then the dark dissipates. It has to, because the brilliance and the frequency of compassion and love radiates throughout you and out into your external reality. And darkness has no power.
Excellent points. Absolutely cannot relate to that because, like you, I'm sure, I've had identified to me literally dozens, maybe even hundreds of very, very important lifetimes on this planet alone, and I have been told also many, many more throughout the universe. And yet, at this moment, I can put my hand on my heart as I'm doing it and say, in all honesty and with full integrity, I have absolutely no attachment to any of them.
Perfect. Perfect. I love that, Bob, because I so often use the story. What would it look like and feel like if I told you you were King Tutankhamun, or if I told Elizabeth that she was Cleopatra? It's too small.
Well, actually, may I interrupt you for a second? But it's interesting you would say Elizabeth in important lifetimes, even though she claims she doesn't believe that. But let me just give you some of them. She had been Queen Victoria. She had been Queen Mary the First of England. She had been Phaedra, the wife of Theseus, founder of Athens. She had been my wife Fausta when I was Emperor Constantine of Rome, and so on. So she has had very important lifetimes. And so what you said was probably guided to say so, even though she denies, as I said, also any of them, which is wonderful because that means she cannot have an attachment to them.
And it's perfect because with all those lifetimes that you mentioned and the brilliance that they represent and the swelling of the ego when one mentions it and talks about it, again I'm going to say they're all too small. They are an expression and experience of the divine creator. And so the enormity of who you truly are and what I'm trying to get at is use all those lifetimes as experience and honor them and love them and bring them into alignment with who you are. But you are more than that.
Absolutely. In fact, all these lifetimes together, in my mind, are only a little speck of who we are.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been wonderful to come to this point of violent agreement, if I can put it this way, you know. But I had originally seen the light when I learned that my astral name was Altzar, and felt the connection actually through music, not through any left brain activities, to Sirius B, which I have been told is the origin of my personal musical talents, and I'm sure many other people's musical talents as well. And the music, yeah, go ahead, please, go ahead.
You're a code-transmitter. That's what you're doing with your music, is you're transmitting code.
That's what I've been told. I was not aware of that until recently, but that's exactly what I've been told. Exactly.
Yeah, and as an enormous beam of light in this particular moment in human evolution, the codes that you're transmitting are of a higher frequency because we're able to receive them as expanded beams of light. So you're doing enormous work by your physical presence, by the words you speak, by the energy you transmit, and by the piano that you play and the songs and tones that come out of your mouth. You're a code transmitter.
But I think the most important energy source is the heart. Wouldn't you agree? You don't.
Well, bingo. You know why? That's where the frequency and harmonics of the divine creator.
Well, anyway, so I totally agree with you. as far as the transmission of energy, that sometimes we can do that, and people might find it hard to believe that sometimes we can do that with our mere presence, with the aura, without necessarily having to do.
It's oscillation, the frequencies are emitted through our bodies and transferred to another, so you don't have to say a word.
Exactly. So with that, I'm going to ask you, meaning the Golden Dolphins of Sirius B, my home star, do they have any messages from our home star that we haven't covered yet?
You figured out a little bit, but I think you're asking if I have the transmission from the Golden Dolphins to present?
Yes.
Okay, so just if everyone can just get grounded, and we'll just go into silence for a few seconds, and then we'll see what happens, okay?
Please. Thank you. You might want to know that I have tears in my eyes.
Me too.
Okay, Nina. Let's wrap it up in human terms, but verbal sign off. Thank you so much for the privilege of having you become a part of the Zodiac Mystery School with such important transmissions from the celestial realm, both in human terms and through the star language. So, my deep gratitude to you.
My honor, and happy fall equinox.
Happy fall equinox to you, and maybe we'll rejoin our energies again on the October 22nd, the start of the Scorpio cycle. Have a safe trip home and enjoy the rest of your stay on Mount Shasta.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Bye-bye.